What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, March 2nd, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
I thought last show was our retirement party, but we're back.
I mean, honestly, thank goodness we have a good weekend of racing, because when I started to go through I was like, this is kind of a downer versus last week.
Yeah, no, we're back though, and actually, it's for content, it's a lot better as far as the racing goes this weekend. You can't ask for much more when it comes to horse racing. This is about as good as it gets. So we shall see, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot, I have a feeling, this weekend.
Oh, my partner says hi.
You have a pterodactyl back there is what it sounded like to me.
He's in there watching Avengers Endgame, so at the end,
sure.
So I'm sure he's all fired up.
Yep.
But no, you're right. I mean, it definitely feels like we're finally, well, I say that, knock on wood. Surely, right? We can find something out this weekend. And honestly, it could be the best or the worst if Forte doesn't fire, because it's just we keep saying, where's Forte? Obviously, we found out, Cave Rock is definitely not, at least Derby, did not get transferred, still with Baffert. So it definitely seems like Forte is the horse left, so to speak, that we don't necessarily know about. Meaning like what he's going to be. That's the one, and we'll find out on Saturday. And so if he can come back and run huge and run kind of really just run what he was running as a 2-year-old, then he can kind of steady the ship a little bit and say, okay, like maybe this isn't the best class, but he's really good. If he doesn't win, if he runs poor, then I don't know.
Yeah, neither does Cooper. Listen, it's going to be really interesting because there are some hotbed horses, I would say, in that San Felipe as well that could jump up, and we're like, damn, that's a good horse too. So kind of like you said, the last mysteries are going to get solved, and then this week, and then maybe next week, Tapit Trice. We'll talk about that next week, but he's still a kind of a mystery as far as stakes company. But we got 2 weeks here where the, quote unquote, what's this horse going to do? Who's this horse going to be is solved. And then we're in the last round of preps. And then there really isn't that quote unquote mystery horse that comes around. It's just like, okay, this is their last chance. Let's see what they do before the Derby. So these weekends are just as big as, say, the last 2 weekends coming up, as far as now we got to find out who's going to be in those preps and what that's going to look like. But it's all eyes on Forte for sure. I'm bury the lead there a little bit, but yeah, it is all eyes on Forte. We've got to see what he comes back like. He's not facing what I would describe as an amazing field, but I don't think it's terrible. I think if he isn't, if he peaked too soon, or if he isn't what he used to be, he's going to get beat. And so that's kind of a cool thing too. He's not facing a walkover.
Well, yeah. And kind of what to your point, you said a little bit there where it's like this weekend and next weekend. I mean, I think the Gotham, we can agree, is maybe not necessarily one that we're going to be super excited about no matter what happens.
Yeah.
But the other two today, or this weekend, and to your point, next weekend with Tapit Trice, like you have 3 races that could produce, like we have, we've been like, I know you and I both rank our top 10 and, and stuff. And it's like, it's so hard, right? It's not even like hard to rank. It's hard. It's almost impossible to rank 10, but even top 5, you're like, well, okay. I mean, I guess I'll keep Tapit Trice keeps falling further, like inside my top 5, just because like I don't have anyone else to put there. So these next 3 races, the Tampa Bay Derby and then the 2 big ones on Saturday, could legitimize like real top 5 horses. Like Forte, obviously, Tapit Trice. If it's Hijazi, or if it's, Go Rocket Ride, or whoever it is. And like you said, there are some horses in that San Felipe that definitely could feel like could be legit. So it definitely feels like these next week and this next 10 days are going to be huge for the Derby Trail.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way around it. I mean, we're out of time. I mean, now it's like you got to make your impact now, or you can forget it. And so that's just it. And that's what happened to Cave Rock. He's out of time. And they just said, that's the end of it. Forget about Extra Nejo. Forget about Loggins. Forget about all those horses. It's done. This is the time. You got to be running right now. It's the horses that have been running or the ones that are coming up the next couple of weeks. Those are going to be your Derby winners. And so that's the fun of it. And you know that coming in, you know, time's up. And now we got to see what you're made of. So here it is. And it's right in front of us. We've been waiting forever for Forte. The wait seemed longer than it really was because we just didn't have anybody else to really kind of talk about because nobody was really making impacts. But here it is. He's got to come back and he's got to run well. If he doesn't, you know, he's in trouble and you got to look elsewhere if you're looking at Derby, you know, your top Derby horse.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why we're so concerned about, you know, producing something here. You were there last week at Oaklawn Park for the Rebel. Give us your thoughts. Confidence game, of course, springs the upset, and you know, shocker, we have another upset.
Yeah.
You know, nothing really. You know, I guess seems like the Brad Cox horses like just never really ran a step. The Yaffert horse ran pretty well considering, but still wasn't a lot to get super excited about. What do you make of that? Is it just another moment where you're just like, yep, another one I don't know what to do with?
I mean, as far as moving forward, you can't make anything of anything that happened at Oaklawn. The track was just atrocious, and some horses didn't run on it. Some horses did. Every race was kind of oddly run, and it was just because they were literally running in a puddle of mud. I mean, there was standing water on the track. You don't see that often, if at all. And I have a feeling if you lined up and run them today over a track that's good at Oaklawn, you might get a different result. And if you run it over a fast track, you might get another different result. I think Confidence Game really took to the track. I think he ran a very much improved race, so give him credit for that. I think Red Route 1 is exactly who we thought he was, and he did it again. And then you got Reincarnate, who just got out of the gate really slow. Didn't really have an excuse. He just got out of the gate slow and got left. And so, but he still ran okay. The two Cox horses verifying, you know, Giant Mischief. I didn't really feel like Giant Mischief took to the track much. Verifying ran a really weird race. I mean, I don't think anybody's very good in this race, to be honest, but the track conditions make it almost impossible to know what's going to happen with these horses going forward. Oh, I think you're muted, Magic.
Sorry. Yeah, Magic. I'm over here typing away. No, actually, I believe my kid. I'm trying to keep it as quiet as I can on my end.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. You knew that the track was going to be an issue, and then as soon as the effort, you know, didn't break, you thought, well, that's over. And I don't know, like Gabe said, like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, even though they're not good, we're going to continue to get these horses in the gate, just based off of who else is going to finish. You know, Confidence Game. We talked a little bit about him last week on the show, just about horses that could run underneath that we thought, you know, would have a chance. And I mean, he ran really well. Really showed that he was better than he was last time. And then Red Route 1, I think he's the one out of everybody that you at least like. He's he's a weird horse because, like, do I think he can win the Derby? Absolutely not. Do I think he's in the Derby? Like, he's good enough to run in the Derby? He should be. Yeah. Like, he just is like a horse. He brings it every time.
I ranked him 5th. You want to know why?
Why?
I know exactly what he's going to do every time.
Yeah, there's no question marks with him.
And
right?
Can you say that about very many of these other ones? No, you can't. There's a couple, sure, that's been consistent. They're still very lightly raced. So this horse, I know exactly what I'm going to get out of him. So I'll put him 5th. I mean, I have no interest in betting him to win the Kentucky Derby, but he does this every time. And honestly, if he was going to win one, feel like he just missed the opportunity. I think that was his spot. He ran well enough.
But look at that. I mean, look how far back he is. Like, he has zero speed early in these races. He
has the least amount of speed I've ever seen from a horse that actually runs well every time.
Look how, I mean, he's not even in the picture at this
2
point.
races in a row. He's off the screen, and you forget he's even in it.
And he comes flying. I mean, he ran huge late. Like, he's flying.
10 behind the second best, or the second horse, or the second to last horse. He's 10 behind him.
Yeah.
If they could ever just get him to make that kind of move and be last, but not last by 10, it might help. But evidently, he just doesn't fire unless they take him way out of it like this.
I mean, he's like, we're turning for home, and he's
There he is,
Is.
finally.
There he is.
And I'm sitting next to Shoddy, who had Red Route 1, and Kelby, who bet Red Route 1 in this race. And they're like, look at him flying. It's unbelievable. But it's like, he can't sustain that. Like, he had to fly to get into second to last, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Carney got hammered there. Like, I think he maybe could have got second here. I don't think in any world he would have won.
No.
I thought he ran well considering, the positives. I'll try to paint a positive picture for him. Is he was doing a lot of things for the first time.
Yeah.
He came off, or whether it be his fault or not, he was off the lead. He was on a muddy track. He shipped all those things, and he still fired late. There is something to be said about that. To your point, like, at least he fired something. He didn't just like get behind horses and just quit like a bunch of horses did in that race. However, and I think Samich said it a little bit, we were talking about it on the live show, like, he kind of created the issue himself because he wasn't fast enough early in the race, and he got put back. And so I that's the concern. If he got pinched out of the gate and nailed, and then, you know what I mean? But it just felt like he just wasn't fast enough to get to the lead.
You said it. When I was live at the track, and you know how it is when you're at the track, you can't see a replay. You can't see shit. You just look up, they run by, and you're like, why is Reincarnate third to last? And you're like, oh, God. And so you assume, well, he stumbled or he got something happened. So when we were at dinner that night, we were like, we hadn't looked at it still. It's like, yeah, Reincarnate, probably the one you want out of that, despite a horrible trip for him, like his expected trip versus the trip he got. Ran so well. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, he was really coming at you, towards the end as well. He wasn't quitting. Then you watch the replay and it's like, oh no, like nothing really happened to him. He just got outbroke. And it's like, well, if he can't break fast, then that's going to happen to him no matter what. So look, here's the deal. They're preps, right? They're preps for the big one. So maybe they learned when those gates open, shove the shit out of him out of that gate, and maybe he'll break a little sharper, and maybe that's what they learned from this one. To me, he's the one, if he would have been in your position you thought he would be in, he probably would have won.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like the Yak team said right after, like they plan on coming back. So didn't discourage him too much. And then also you think maybe, the track adds an intrigue to it that you just don't know if he didn't like it, if he, you know what I mean? So you definitely I agree with the idea. Like, I don't think you're completely off of him at this point.
No, I think you definitely go into the next race pending where it is and pending who's in it and all that goes into it. But just in a general sense or general thought, you go into the next race and you see him enter and you're like, well, let's take a look at what's going to happen here, because he ran pretty well considering, even though he caused his own trouble, at least he did make up for it, because up the backstretch, I just thought, well, we won't hear his name again.
Yeah, no.
And he ran tremendous. And like I said, he at one point he turned the corner and you kind of, not hopeful, but you kind of thought he's going to be okay here. And he was okay.
Yeah. I was watching it on TV. And so I knew that he didn't have it didn't look like he had any issues. And so I immediately was like, well, that didn't work, like that's, so I was surprised whenever they turned for home, and I said, oh my, he's coming. Like, here he's coming. You knew real quick he wasn't going to catch Confidence Game, but yeah, he's still like, I was very surprised that I would have more at that point. I was like, well, he's just didn't like the track and whatever. And it's just not going to happen today. So yeah, to me that there is something to be said, because you look at, the Cox horses, you looked at, in the fairgrounds race, Victory Formation, you look at the horses that he had in this one, like who was the one horse? What was
Verifying Giant Mischief.
Yeah, like they just literally never did. I think Giant Mischief is a one turn type horse. Seems like
he got a pretty good trip and did nothing. And Verifying ran the weirdest race of all. He was up there, then he lost a bunch of links on the turn, and then he came running again. I don't know. They ran.
Brad acted like he hated, like he's just like he hated the track the whole time. And
I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of horses that hated that track. A Max Player about fell down on the track earlier in the day, and we thought he got hurt. And then we watched it back. He's like, no, he literally rounded the turn and slipped So it's just a situation where that track was one of the worst I've ever seen. And I've seen sloppy tracks. This is not new. The track at Oaklawn Friday and Saturday both, dude, it was bad. And what happened was it rained all day Friday and all night Friday night into Saturday morning. And then right before the races, it stopped, and it just became like a baseball field that you would drive by and that's taken rain for 3 days. Just puddles everywhere, and it's just a mess. And there was nothing you could do with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it was damp and cold, and it was just like
beautiful day at Oakland. Sounds like.
Oh, it was awful. But it was one of the worst weather weekends I've ever experienced at Oakland. Great weekend, but weather was bad.
Well, all right. To that point, I think, knock on wood, it is raining and storming here, but I do believe we are going to have good weather. We are heading to South Florida, and we are heading to LA. So we have to go to New York too. But the other two, maybe the weather is going to be nice. So we'll go to today's show where we preview 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 50-point Kentucky Derby prep races. The 400K Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park, of course, featuring the return of Forte. The 400K San Felipe at Santa Anita, and the $300,000 Gotham Stakes at Aqueduct. Let's go. Hang on a sec. Hey, what are you doing? I believe he's in there pooping.
Oh, well. Gotta go. You gotta go.
Give me a sec.
Okay. I'll entertain the people. Yeah, but if you were watching Oaklawn, and you could see it on the television screen, I'm sure, but it just really was bad. And Dennis, you mentioned on verifying Giroud it. Yeah, but the horse kind of quit on him a little bit too. I feel like it's a little bit of both. Both those Cox horses, Giant Mischief and verifying, they were pretty close to a hot pace, and so I thought that was a little bit of a problem for both of them. But every pace at Oaklawn through the whole weekend was really hot, and it was strange because it's a really sloppy track. I thought we'd see some slower times early. Everybody really tried to gun it, so it's pretty interesting how that all worked out. Trish says single Forte go all in the Gotham. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. Gotham's interesting because you've got 15 horses entered. Only 14 will run. Almost every one of them wants the lead, or at least wants to be forwardly placed. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. It's got Meltdown written all over it, but there's no closers in the race either. So we'll get to that one in a second. Yeah, Michael, Jared has disappeared. We don't know. We'll see. I may just have to do this on our own. So we'll see what happens with that. But it was a fun weekend at Oaklawn. There he is. There he's back.
I can confirm that there was a poop that happened.
There we go. All right.
Anyways, we're good now. He literally sat in there on the toilet, and I heard the toilet flush, and I was like, is he pooping? Yep. The other day, my oldest son is 6, Cohen. I think I told you this, but I'll tell the people. Like, he literally flushed the whole toilet paper roll down the toilet.
Yes, you told me that.
Which I didn't even think people thought to do.
I can't even imagine what that looked like. Like
as a dad, there's all kinds of stuff where you're like, where would you even thinking with that? But this one, I'm like, how did you even think that was a good idea?
That's yeah.
But she flushed. I don't know. So I tried to get it out, and it was gone. So I was like, well, I guess that happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
All right. Let's we're gonna do some Fountain of Youth. We'll go to San Felipe, and then we'll go to the Gotham. Let's talk about the 3. Obviously, huge card at Gulfstream Park across the country. But we're just gonna cover the 3 main. There's even another Derby prep at where is that? The one at
Turfway.
But we're gonna, you guys, we have picks for that website at racedudes.com. But we're gonna cover just the 3 main ones here.
Let's do it.
Gilmore. I don't think Gilmore is a Derby horse. Maybe he is.
Probably not.
All right. Time for the Derby Prep Saturday Bonanza. But first, make sure you go to racingdudes.com, get the all-inclusive 20-page wagering guide to the 2023 Fountain of Youth. On March 4th, this Saturday, Gulfstream Park features analysis and stakes analysis of all 9 stakes on the card, including the $400,000 Fountain of Youth. You get bonus race by race analysis, betting suggestions, multi-race plays for the entire card. You're also going to get included in that the Gotham Stakes and the San Felipe Stakes. All that is included. So 11 stakes total that we're going to cover in that race, as well as top 4 consensus picks from all 11 stakes races from the entire team at racingdudes.com. It's available right now. We've already got it posted. 20 pages, racingdudes.com. Make sure you go get your hands on that right after you end the show. All right, let's go to the main event of the weekend. And the reason it's the main event is because it features the main horse that we want to see come back. Number 4, Forte, leads race 14, the Fountain of Youth Stakes on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's a grade 2 or $400K for 3-year-olds going a mile and 16th. And it is a Derby prep. All these are 50, 20, 15, 10, and 5. Obviously, Forte already has points, but this obviously would certainly secure him. Even a second place would secure him. But, you really get second in here for some of these other ones, assuming that Forte is going to win. And they've got a chance. And so we sit here, and that's the thing, too, about this weekend. All huge fields, all great fields. Very good betting races. Even a race like this that does feature a horse like Forte at 7-5. You've got Blazing Sevens in here making his return as well. You got Mage. It is interesting. Rocket Can, of course, coming off the win last time out. You got General Jim, who looked really good on the undercard that day. There's Cyclone Mischief. Maybe you think he's going to rebound. There's plenty of options in here. Yeah, that's the thing about this race that's so nice, Halterman, is even if you don't want to play the chalk, you've got options.
Yeah, you do. And even a horse that Forte's beaten a couple times, still kind of interesting. Number 6, Blazing Sevens. Everybody and their brothers known Forte's coming to this race, and Chad Brown sends Blazing Sevens into this race as well. So that kind of tells me, that's interesting. He must think this horse is doing really well and is progressing. So we'll see what happens with this. I think it's still Forte's race to lose. He was able to beat Blazing Sevens pretty easily and every time they face. So I think he'll still be able to do that. A lot of people are on the 7, but we'll see. This is a whole different level and a whole different ball game for the 7 Mage. We'll see what happens there. Rocket Can did not run all that well, and did not run all that fast in the Holy Bull. Neither did Shadow Dragon. So I still kind of think it's Forte's to lose here. I think they're all going to have to elevate to him. Even if he hasn't improved much, I still think his 2-year-old form is going to be good enough to win in this spot.
Yeah, and I saw that too, Michael, just as you said that. I pulled it up. It sounds like he missed some days of training for the Fountain of Youth. Says he's had a little cough. He's back in training. They're not sure. So we'll see if they're going to run him or not. But that's a bummer because General Jim was a horse that looked so good last time out. And, you and I were both a little critical of man, they should have ran that horse in the stakes, right? Or in the prep, right?
Yeah.
That day probably could have stole that thing from Rocket Can because obviously he was not overly impressive, although he did still win. So
yeah,
I'm kind of with you. I look, obviously I, as people know, and I would tell everyone to do is anytime you have a horse like this, like Forte, I immediately go through and all right, and I think playing tournament stuff has helped us as well. How do I beat him? Who I'm just not even using him. Let me look at these other horses. And then finally you go to Forte and it's he's just a standout. The one horse that you could maybe make a case for is Blazing Sevens, but he's also on the same layoff as Forte. And by the way, Forte beat the shit out of him last time out, kind of like you said. And so Forte needs to come back 75%. And I think he wins still.
Yeah, unless, like I said, you got a horse that maybe like a Blazing Sevens that's moving forward really well, but, we'll have to wait and see if that is actually the case or anything like that. Yeah, General Jim probably going to scratch. That's not official yet, but probably is. That was one I really thought might be able to beat him because he seemed like one that was starting to develop, He ran extremely well last time out, and he really should have, like you said, and I think you're right, and we talked about it, like you said, should have been in the Holy Bull last time out. So with him out, it seems even more likely Forte is going to win this thing. A lot of people are going to be on number 7 Mage. They think that horse is lone speed. Big difference, 7 furlong maiden to a mile and 16th, Kentucky Derby prep race where you're facing Forte. That is couldn't be any different, right? But he was decent in that race. I also think with General Jim scratching, and it seems like everybody and their brothers on Mage, that horse might be like 4-1. And that,
I was gonna say, I just think based off of what I've been seeing on Twitter and people have talked to, it's like, is Mage going to be like the third choice of this race? And I just that was a nice effort, but I'm not sure he deserves to be third choice of a really good allowance race, let alone the Fountain of Youth. Like, I just don't see how that horse should be bet that hard, but he probably will, which makes him unplayable to me.
He's going to go off lower than he did the day he broke his maiden.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And it's a lock that he's going to. He's probably going to go off half the price. He was 11-1 the day he won. And you're going to take him at 4 or 5-1 in the Fountain of Youth. I can't get there. I can't. He might win. He's not for me. And if he does win, you pat him on the back and you say, great job, because that's really tough to do. If he wins, he's really good.
I mean, and look, you look at a horse like Forte, and being that he was so good as a 2-year-old has allowed Pletcher to be very slow with getting him back. And I think that's very, like we talked about, a lot of these horses that, the extra Nahos and like that, it's like, well, they're not even working, like he's been working, he's been trying to pick their spot and get him ready. And he's already got so many points that it's really more about just how do we make sure we get him back in the same fashion he was. I mean, he's already got 40 points. He really doesn't need, he technically probably could make the gate without getting any more points the rest of the year. But obviously you want to get added to that. And you look at the horses he beat last year. He beat Cave Rock. He beat National Treasure. I don't know about you. Probably has a big shot. We'll talk about that race coming up. Loggins, a horse that we won't see, but obviously was very good. Red Route 1, we just talked about him. And then the hopeful, but he beat Blazing Seven. So it's like all these good horses, and he's just demolished him as a 2-year-old. And so it's like, we know what we've seen this year. Like, I just don't. He just needs to come back and basically, it's like just stay on the horse. And I just don't know I don't know how he loses.
Well, yeah, that's just it. It's, if Rocket Can won the Holy Bull in a very impressive time, or even if it was a little bit more visually impressive, then you've got kind of like a showdown, so to speak, right? But I think everybody, whether you're a visual handicapper or a numbers handicapper, or just you look at raw times, whatever it is, the Holy Bull was not an impressive race in any way, shape, or form. I remember we were on live and we were all like, he ran wide, so that was good, right? He overcame a wide trip, but it wasn't much. It wasn't that great of a race. And now you get the horse like Forte. He needs to win. I mean, we were talking at Oakland last week, and it's like, well, even if he runs a solid second, a couple people were saying, even if he runs a solid second, that'd be a good start. And Kelby and I both were like, no, he really, knowing the field, because the field had been drawn that day, it's like, he really needs to win unless he has a major excuse. Even if he runs a solid second, if there's no excuses, no, he's not back. He has not come back very strong.
Is there any, let's see, I'll say this, and I'm not, let me preface this by saying I'm not interested in the horse at all. But if you're made me pick between two horses that was definitely bet last time and it's going to be bet this time, Mage and Cycle Mischief went off the favorite, of course, in that Holy Bull, was just beyond awful. I would play him versus Mage, just versus I imagine the price is going to be. There's going to be a lot of people that remember that race and, got smoked, almost 12 lengths, got 7th in that race, just never ran. If he runs back to the race 2 back, that's the thing. And we know this about Dale Roman's horses, right? That's why they're impossible to bet, because they run huge one day and then the next time, it's like, you look at it, he breaks his maiden by 5, runs in the Jockey Club, finishes 7th, then goes and wins that allowance race, looks unbelievable, then gets smoked in the Holy Bull, never runs a step. And now it's like, So do I think he's going to win? No. But if there was a horse that, if you made me pick between the Mage and Cycle Mischief, I'm taking Cycle Mischief based off the value. And honestly, I think he could do anything.
I'll take Mage if you're going to make me pick between the two.
I mean, even value aside, I don't want to play that horse at 4-1. Where Cycle Mischief is going to be like 10-1.
I don't want to play Cyclo Mischief at 80-1.
I'm not saying he's going to win. Let's just be clear. But so the Holy Bull just completely, you just think he's trash.
I thought he was trash going into that race, and he ran like trash. So why am I going to think he's not trash now just because he's a better price? Like I will definitely concede that if you want to play Cyclo Mischief, this is the time or the next time when they try him, because you are going to get the price that you deserve on him, right? Like 6-5 was psychotic, but if you're going to try to play him at 10, 12, 15-1, that is kind of the sweet spot where you want the Romans and the McPeaks of the world to be. We've covered this 100 times. So sure, he is the right price, but I just don't see a world where he wins, Even that allowance race that was very good visually, it didn't come back all that fast. And I get that Litigate came back and won. Good for him. Like, that race was horrific that he won over at Tampa in the Sam F. Davis. So I don't want any part of him. He's not for me. But again, if you're picking him this time, I'm not going to try to sit here and talk you off of him, because it is at least going to get the price that he needs to be in this race.
Well, yeah, I think that's the point, is like, at the very least, he is at least playable at this point. He's in the realm of the Del Romans category for me, where I would at least say, if I'm playing something crazy or if I'm playing the horses underneath, like, he's more playable than, certainly, like you said. I mean, I have him with you. I mean, I think both of us were like, well, I know I'm not playing Cycle Mischief in this race. Last time, because you're like, I just cannot even begin to fathom playing Del Romans at that price, and it was insanity that he was bet down that much. All right, so we not much to really go into here. We both really like Forte, very clearly, not rocket science there. What does it take? Does it just take a win, like, to secure? Do you have him ranked number 1 still? Have you been ranking him?
Mm-hmm.
So what does it take to just say, you know what, that's, until I see something, if anything, very, very special, he is my Derby horse March 4th. You know what I mean? Like, is there any, like, do you just need to see him win and that's all it takes?
I would think just a win. Yeah. The only caveat is the race we'll talk about next, because the San Felipe might be sneaky, so that we could see something maybe that could jump up. But just first thought was just win this race, and you'll still be number 1.
Yeah, basically we have these 3 preps all within an hour or so. I think it is. It's like the Gotham, I think, kicks things off around 4 Central, and then what time is this one? This one's at 4:43. And then I believe the San Felipe is right before this, maybe. So or maybe right after. But either way, it's like all of that hour. So we're going to learn a lot about these horses and kind of our opinions in that hour. But yeah, for this one, not much, not anything. We're not reinventing anything here. Number 4, Forte. We think this horse is a lock to win the Fountain of Youth. All right, let's go to Santa Anita. Yeah, what time is this one?
4:30.
2:27 or 4:27.
Mm-hmm.
So about 4:30. So yeah, you're gonna go 4:30, 4:45. We're gonna knock it. So we'll know something that when we go into the Forte race, we'll know who won this one. Kind of a thought of maybe if we saw something flashy or not. All right, let's go to Santa Anita for the San Felipe race 6, grade 2, 400K for 3-year-olds, going mile 16th as well. And look at that, Halterman. We've got a large field of 11 scratched down now to a field of 10. But man, isn't that nice to see a full field at Santa Anita Park in a big stakes race that means something? Oh, and by the way, no Bafferts in the race. We have a bunch of Yak teens, no Bafferts. So everyone is eligible for those 50, 20, 15, 10, 5 Kentucky Derby points. That's right. This one to me it's the same and different in the same time, because I think it's got some I don't know if I want to say Forte-ish horses, but horses that maybe could be. But there's a bunch. You've got the odds just came out. John set National Treasures at 3-1, 4-1 on Practical Move. Hijazi 7-2, 5-1 on Go Rocket Ride, 5-1 on Skinner. Fort Bragg is at 8-1. There's options across the board. Take your pick.
No doubt. I mean, this is a race that there's a lot of like sleepers or up and comers or horses that could jump up and run really, really well. It's just loaded with horses like that. And so, listen, I'll be honest, a lot of times on this trail when we've had fields loaded like this, hadn't been very good. Those horses we thought might jump up, might take that step to maybe they could be top 4, top 5, whatever type horses. They haven't really went out there and done it. But here's the flip side. We're due for a race where one of them does go out there and do it. So maybe it's going to happen right here. I'm overly excited for this one. I just feel really good about it. That being said, I went number 2 National Treasure on top because when you really sit down and look at it, yeah, he's been losing, but he's been losing to horses that come back and win or at least run really well. And he's been sitting pretty close at times to the best ones, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He wasn't that far behind, Forte and Cave Rock. So I think he's going to catch him in the right spot. Second time off the layoff, second time as a 3-year-old, where a lot of these other ones are kind of running either in a stakes for the first time or running their first race of 2023. So give me National Treasure. I think this is the spot. I'm not sure he's the best horse in a month from now when you look at all these horses, but I think he's the best horse on Saturday.
Well, he's a tricky one for me because in one regard, it's like, okay, he won his debut. He got beat by Cave Rock the next time out. He got beat by Forte and Cave Rock in the Breeders' Cup. And then last time he got beat by Reincarnate and Newgate. Newgate obviously came back to win. He's off the trail now. Reincarnate, we already talked about. The Rebel. Brant didn't disappoint. I don't know what the word is. He wasn't terrible. The point is, National Treasure has faced, Hijazi, by the way, he beat 3-back. Okay.
Yep.
He's faced them all. I mean, he's been, as far as like these horses out there. I mean, and especially if even, Cave Rock and Forte in the Breeders' Cup. So there he has that going for him. That last race, and I know I'm trying to give him a break, but that last race, I thought like he looked really, really flat down this. Like he just didn't do anything. He had no excuses in that race. He was a heavy favorite that day and didn't fire. He should improve. I give you that. But I think taking him at a low price here, of course, he won't be as low as he was in the Sham. I just wonder. And also the race should set up nice for him. Don't you agree?
It should. It absolutely should. I mean, this is another race, and I think a theme of the next 2 races we're going to talk about for sure. A lot of pace. There's a lot of horses that want the lead, especially the Gotham. That's nuts. But as far as this one, a lot of horses like to do their best running on or near the lead. That's going to set up for the ones that can maybe not are dead last like Red Route 1, but that are sitting 2, 3, 4 off of it, get that first run. Yeah, it's going to set up pretty well. But there are a couple of flyers in here, aren't there? There are a couple where it's like, these might be good horses.
All right, Gabe. Yeah, thank you for setting that one up for me.
Wow, what a setup, Gabe. Thank you.
Get up for me because I was ready to roll. I'm ready to talk about this horse. My boy, number 8, Go Rocket Ride. I agree. There's a lot of compelling things with him, and the one that kind of put me over the edge is Pratt staying put here. And I get riding out here is one thing, but you go look at Gulfstream Park, that whole card. Halterman, he's got a bunch of turf horses that he's named to ride at Gulfstream on the undercard. Big turf races for Chad Brown that he's opting to stay here and ride, and that he would get all those mounts if he chose to go there. He could have rode all those horses, but he's staying put. I thought it's a big time sign, especially with Mandela. It's not like he's like riding for Mandela all the time. It's not like it's not Chad Brown. So that was interesting to me. And really the ultimate thing, I just thought that last race was so damn impressive that I just can't get past him. And I get the pace thing is concerned, but I think Halterman that I think he's a lot faster than everyone else in the race. And to me, the question isn't, will the pace put him, will it hurt him? Will it ruin his chances? It's, can he go this long? Can he go from a maiden special weight to the San Felipe stretching out and roll like he did last time out? That's the bigger question. And I think that's a clear question. But is he talented enough to win? Is he faster than everybody else? I think unequivocally, yes, he is.
Yep, I agree. He's going to get the lead. And I wish, and I know that you don't usually debut horses going a route, so I understand why they debuted him going 6 furlongs, but I wish we would have seen him run 2 turns, because I kind of told you he might be Forbidden Kingdom, where he's just really freaking fast, but he's going to fade if you go longer with him. Or he might be like I'm talking about Mandela horses here, like a Beholder, where she was just really fast and she kept on going. If he can hold his speed, they're not going to catch him. But I am just curious to see first time routing, moving up in class, facing a lot more pace pressure this time around, stretching out in distance. Well, I said first time routing. I'm just worried it might fall apart for him late. But I don't have any doubt you're going to be excited if you bet this horse on the backstretch. I just have a vision of him smooth as silk in front in the lead. Can he hold it? That's going to be the big question. And listen, I said it with Mage, and I think Go Rocket rides better than Mage, but it's the same situation. You're coming out of a 1-turn maiden, and now you're trying to win a major Kentucky Derby prep stretching out. You better be really good if you're going to do it. And we're going to find out if he's really good.
Well, and the thing is, too, for me, is like, I mean, there's a lot to find out here with the horse. No doubt about it. But, like, so the horse didn't, you're like, well, he wasn't even 6-1 that day. Well, the reason why he was 6-1 is because the horse that he smoked, the Bob Baffert horse, was hammered. This horse was sub-even money, was supposed to be the typical debut Baffert horse, supposed to go to the lead, never look back. Problem was he couldn't get to the lead because this horse was. And then we saw the horse, what is it? Sonoran was the horse. Mm-hmm. Came back and just annihilated the field going 6.5 furlongs. He went a little bit longer, but just annihilated the field. Like, to me, that was a huge sign how good this, because that 8 was supposed to, that day, or the Sonoran was supposed to win that day without question. Like, no, and this horse never, you don't see that very often, a horse outkick, be faster than a Bob Baffert debuter out of Santa Anita. That doesn't happen very often. And I also think that, I don't know, like, you don't often see Mandela have a horse like this and kind of be this aggressive, have Pratt aboard. Like, there's a lot of things here that maybe just thinks this horse is different.
I think the Pratt thing is huge, and I think the Mandela aggression is obviously pretty big too. And Omaha Beach is another one that he could be an Omaha Beach type. And that horse was able to go from a maiden and come out here and win, or go out to Arkansas, I should say, and win. So it's, to me, it's just a lot to ask. It's a really tough ask, but if he's good enough, and he's going to have to be really good, he can beat this group. And he definitely is the one, like, that I think could be that horse, like, where we say, damn, that was very, very, very good. Where you like another up and comer like Skinner. I don't think he's going to run off the screen and it's like, wow, we're going to be talking about Skinner. But Go Rocket Ride does have that flash that you need. I think the horse just to his inside is going to be a big problem, though.
Yeah.
I think that Jazzy looks like he kind of woke up, and it's like, are they going to go bang heads out there? Because I think that Jazzy's the only one that can really run with him early.
I agree. And that, like, Dennis, I disagree. Like, I don't think the 9 has any shot of pushing him, but I think the 7 does.
I think if the 9 gets the lead, they're going to have to freaking quarter horse him out of the gate. Yeah. Like, just ride the shit out of them.
Yeah. I mean, even whenever he was getting the lead, like, he's running like 23, 47, 22, and 46. Go Rocket Rider in 22 and 44. Hijazi last time out, 21 and 44. Like, they're going to have to motor the 9 if they think that. And I mean, that takes the horse out of the race completely at that point. Hijazi is an interesting one because it's like, gosh, he's ran huge. he ran real. I thought he looked really good. He's ran two. He's running a 100 buyer and he's running a 99 buyer in his career, and like that's pretty impressive for a horse that's kind of debuting on his 3-year-old first stakes race as a 3-year-old. Like that's pretty impressive. But he's just been maybe unfortunate. The horses he's been beat by, like Cave Rock, National Treasure, Speedboat Beach that day was just another level. Of course, that was a sprint at Del Mar. Hard to, maybe Hijazi needs the stretch out, even though the American Pharoah didn't go as planned. It's a huge priced horse. You got to think this horse is going to get every opportunity. I just don't know. I mean, he's a question mark for me because I think he could exit this race, and we're sitting there thinking, Arabian Night it's Hijazi. That's the horse. Or you might be saying, like, okay, he ran like a weird second or third again. I don't know how good he is.
I agree. And that's just the weird thing about him. Honestly, him waking up like that, it makes it dangerous because they've had a ton of hype on this horse for a long time. So we'll see. I mean, I'm on the fence. He definitely looked like a different horse last time out. But was it just, hey, that competition wasn't great, and now we're stretching out, and who knows? I don't know. I don't know what to do with him. But this is a really intriguing race because of these two horses specifically, in my opinion. These two are really, really interesting. And listen, the Skinner, number 10, Skinner, terrible name, but this horse has a lot of hype from guys like Brad Free, who like he loves this horse, so maybe he's the one, but I think things are going to have to fall apart for Skinner to really make a huge impact.
Yeah, Skinner, man, is like getting a lot of hype, I feel like. And, another horse that's similar to like when you have like a Mandela, or in this case, a John Sheriff's, where it's like, they don't often have like these really good 3-year-olds like at this time of the year. And to get that kind of hype is exciting. But gosh, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I agree that if this thing is a full and utter meltdown, he should benefit a lot, maybe the most out of anybody in the race. But you look at the level of the horses they obviously thought he was very good last year because they ran him straight in front of main special weight where he got 5th, right, to back-to-back grade 1s. You could argue that was just way too much for him. Now they kind of reset, came back and looked good, and maybe he is now what they thought he was then. Or you could say he clearly was just he wasn't good enough to face those kind of horses, and that's the concern. Like he's not fast enough early, and he's not fast enough late to catch the Cave Rocks and having the meltdown, and all these horses, Hijazi, National Treasure, the horses he's been beat by. That's my concern.
Yep, no, I totally agree. With that, and it's definitely a toss up on him. I don't love him. I've been pretty clear on that, but he is getting a lot of hype from guys that are, pretty darn good. So we'll see what happens. We haven't even talked about Practical Move. I feel like a horse that last time out impressively won at Los Alamitos. I mean, is it just a Los Alamitos special, or is Practical Move that kind of horse? I kind of got even like that 4th spot, but he wouldn't shock me here. He's always shown talent.
It would be kind of funny to have, you have like the formerly trained Baffords now with the Yak team, and then of course you have the new shooters like Skinner and Go Rocket Ride, all this hype, and then the original Yak team, comes in and just beats them all once again. It's like, hey, you keep forgetting about me. Like no one talks about Practical Move. And to the point of that, it's like if he were to win, then you have to take him seriously now, because that's 2 races in a row that he basically got disrespected and won.
Yep.
Yep.
I can't add more.
When I look at this race, there is legit like National Treasure, Practical Move, Hijazi, Go Rocket Ride. I'll put, I don't know if I want to put Skinner in there. 4, I'll say 4 securely, maybe 5 horses that could win and lead the race, and you could be like saying, "Wow, that might be the horse." Like maybe that's the horse. And again, we'll know a couple minutes later if Forte what he is, right? Maybe shut that down. But for a second, we might say, wow, that's the horse.
I think so. I think it's cool that Forte's the last race of the bunch here, because you know, you get the kind of the primer of the Gotham, and it is probably what it is. It's going to be a great race, but maybe not a Derby prep, you know, to the fullest, let's say. Then here it's like, okay, what do we see here? And then now, you know, these horses are the leader in the clubhouse, so to speak. Now, where's Forte going to be? You know, so because he's still out on the course, and we'll see what he does. So
here's what I think, and I'll go a step further past those 4 or 5. I think if either the 7 or 8, Hijazi or Go Rocket Ride, win and do so like very impressively, where it's just like put on a show kind of thing, it's gonna take even more from Forte for you to be like to still feel secure about Forte.
It does kind of feel like if the 7 or 8 win, they're going to be like automatic top 5 type horses, no matter what happens almost. Probably even the 2, National Treasure, you know, he's still looming up there top 10. If he can win, it's going to knock him into the top 5. So as far as like hype on the Derby Trail, those would be the 3 that you would really get excited about. You're right. And it does have that potential to somebody might run away with it. And it really kind of hypes up that horse.
All right. Well, we'll see. Halterman is on the 2, National Treasure. I've got the 8, Go Rocket Ride. You got to think when they turn for home, assuming everything goes right, my horse is in front and Halterman's horse is trying to get to him. Should be a heck of a finish in the San Felipe. Make sure you tune in for that. 8, Go Rocket Ride, 2, National Treasure. Man, that race, you know, I thought I was more excited about the Fountain of Youth just because of Forte, but I think I might be more excited for that one just because the options, the possibilities are almost endless, it feels like.
It definitely feels like that one, again, it feels like a better version of what we've had. Like you're excited for the Rebel and you're excited for the Risen Star for that same reason of like, hey, we could see there's a bunch of different horses and some of them could be really good. This seems like a better version of those. But again, those have really disappointed. Now let's see this one. One of these are going to produce something, and it could definitely be this one.
All right, let's go to Aqueduct now to cap things off with the race 9, the Gotham Stakes, grade 3, 300K for 3-year-olds going 1 mile this time. And again, another 50, 20, 15, 10, 5 for your top 5 finishers. And, you know, nothing too hard here. Only field of 14.
Yeah.
With also another also eligible 15. So 14 horses going a mile at Aqueduct. And by the way, there are no clear standouts in the race. And, oh, by the way, there's about 10 horses that want to go to the lead. So, good luck.
The problem is, you said 10, and that's not enough. There's 12 of the 14 runners that are going to enter this race want the lead or want within a length of the lead or at least, you know, within some kind of range. So it has Meltdown written all over it. If there was a race where Red Route 1 should be in, it's right here because he would definitely win in this one. But if there's 12 of the 14 horses want the lead, who's closing? There's only a couple of horses that are closers. One of them's 30-1, and it's Raise Cane. And I put Raise Cane in second just because of the pace situation. You know, he's not going to be on the lead. He'll mow him down late. So I like Raise Cane in second. I did put Slip Mahoney, the 11 horse, in first. Here's why. I think he can sit off this lead. I think he is the one out of the horses that like to be towards the front. He's drawn outside a lot of the other speed. I think he'll sit off of it if they ask him to. He's not real keen on getting there and getting his spot early. So I think he takes back just a little bit, gets first run on him, and is able to kind of hold off some of the horses coming from behind him. Slip Mahoney ran an extremely good race last time out. I don't really care that Krupe did not run very well in his next start. The conditions were completely different. But this race that Slip Mahoney ran last time out, if he can repeat it, he's better than these horses, in my opinion. And oh, by the way, 2 races back, he lost by a head to Tapit Trice, who's a horse we both really like. So,
yeah,
Slip Mahoney for me.
Yeah, once I saw that next race from Slip Mahoney, and I was like, okay, that horse might be pretty good, and you know, so it definitely bodes well. So a win by him would definitely only further the hope we have for Tapit Trice next week. I really like Slip Mahoney. You know that I've been talking about this horse to you for I think like weeks. You know, I'm like, hey, I really like this horse. I think him drawing outside and all the speed, I do think he's going to be able to. He might be able to sit a little bit of a nice trip. It may not be necessarily on the lead, but he might be real close. It's a shame we don't have Arctic Arrogance in here as well, and they may have more speed in the race. Dude. It's just General Banker was a horse that I'm not picking, by the way, but a horse that I thought maybe that horse can help or can benefit from a pace meltdown. But it's like, do I really like that horse? Not really. I'm going with my boy 5, Carmel Road. I know that the pace setup it doesn't. What's that? Okay, just saying. I know that the pace setup is not ideal. When you look at the kind of how he won going a mile 3 back, it was on the lead, won by 8, and it's made in special weight. Of course, it was a disaster at Keeneland. Came back, ran second to Practical Move in the Low South for Charity. That was mile 16th. The way this horse has been working, these horses rattled off 2 straight bullets, three of the last 4 bullets. Almost the other one was almost a bullet. I mean, really working well. It looks like to me, and kind of everything I've read and look at the workouts, like they've definitely, that horse last ran in December. They've been working this horse out a ton, and this feels like the light bulb has come on a little bit with this horse. The way he's working, anyways. Obviously, we'll find out in the race. The pace situation could be what it is, and it could end up, hurting the horse. But from everything I've read, everything I've seen, I feel like the connections are bringing this horse in, expecting a big performance by him. 6-1 on the morning line. I think he's dangerous, man. I know that I realize there's a bias there, so you're probably not going to take me too serious. But I've been watching this horse obviously all year, and I feel like this is the right spot for him.
His debut race, he sat, or I don't think he really sat, but he was off slow. He got behind and he made up ground. And so that's, I think, very important because he's not going to take this field gate to wire. He's going to need to come from out of it. So he did show he could do that. So that's good. That's a good quality to have. His best race was at a mile. It was at a 2-turn mile at Del Mar, but still, that was definitely his best race. Yeah, I wish the pace circumstances were a little different. He's drawn inside a lot of that speed. It makes me think he is going to get shuffled back quite a bit. But I'm kind of with you. Like, some of these horses are not great that are here. I definitely think Carmel Road shows up with a chance. He ran pretty good at Los Al. He's got a little tired late. Maybe he's the one to kind of mow him down a little bit in the stretch. I do think he's another one that will sit off of it. I just worry what kind of trip that's going to get, how far he's going to get pushed back, because there's going to be a lot of horses that want that lead. Unless they just choose to go with it, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and he ran really fast at Del Mar when he broke that maid 21 and 45. I don't. It's almost one of those things. They did pick up Cancel, a local rider. Obviously, it's very good at Aqueduct, so that's nice. Like, kind of benefit to have that local rider that knows the track. But it kind of makes you wonder. And then you can make this same statement for a bunch in the race. Is it going to be one of those things that, like, do we just go and just you don't have traffic if you just go, right? Or do you risk getting shuffled like you're saying and you hold off? Because the problem is if you and 4 other people say let's just go, well, then now you have an epic pace meltdown. So the race tactics of this race, and it's not like the most exciting race from the prospects, but the race tactics of this race will be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, that's just it. I mean, the thing about it is the jockeys, the trainers, they're reading these past performances just like we are. And do some of them make that decision, let's sit off, and then all of a sudden maybe it doesn't go as fast as you think. But the races are not run on paper, and that's the one thing you just can't really predict is trainer intent, jockey intent. What are the decisions going to be made out there on the track? There's enough horses entered that you just got to think, even if a couple play conservative, still there will be some that want to go out for that lead. And like I said, Carmel Road showed he didn't really want to do it, but the circumstances made it to where he had to kind of come from behind, and he did it. He didn't win, but he did pass 4 or 5 horses. Maybe that's what they decide since he's shown that. I don't know. It's going to be really tough to kind of judge what's going to happen here and what horse is going to end up doing what. That's why I worry about Carmel Road drawn inside that, and I'm not really a big draw guy, but also I don't handicap a lot of races where 12 of the 14 horses want the lead either. Right. So if he's drawn inside and there's like 2 or 3 speed horses, he's in a good spot. But here it's going to be weird, I guess is the best way to say it.
And you look at, as recent as last week when you say, well, Reincarnate just goes to the lead, and then 2 seconds out of the gate, he's shuffled back, and you're like, oh crap. So, we know I know it's Yak Team now, but this horse is, that's the way I'm looking at this. Any of these horses like Reincarnate or Carmel Road or whoever, like they're still trained by Bob Baffert until now, right? Until after the race, then because technically the training really comes back into, Baffert's gotten the horse to this point. And so you got to think he's going to be fast, right? That's the way Baffert trains and going the mile. All right. So a couple other horses that I've been seeing pop up, and obviously one that should be bet fairly hard, 4-1 on the morning line, all the way to the almost all the way to the outside. Number 13, Eyeing Clover, of course, trained by Brad Cox. Drew gets the mount, undefeated, won on debut, won a big allowance by 9 3/4 at Fairgrounds. Again, going 6 furlongs. Stretches out just a little bit here, but dude, I'm a big, I would say it's not like an end all be all for me, but I like seeing when they beat comeback winners.
Sure.
And Eyeing Clover has done a lot of that. Beat a couple in his debut race, beat one, the horse at Frogtown he beat last time out, came back to win. I think this horse is pretty good. This just seems like kind of heading, drawing all the way outside, getting the obviously much deeper waters now, but it's not the toughest prep race.
The only problem I have with him is he's always been on the lead. And well, I say always, he's only ran twice, but he's never not been on the lead. And honestly, you look at this and I kind of look at his numbers and look at kind of what he's done time-wise and stuff like that. He might be the fastest one. He might actually make the front, but what does that mean and how hard was it for him to get it? That's the problem. And how much is he going to be pressured? I don't really care about the post. It's a 1-turn race, and with his speed, he probably is not going to be 6 wide on that last turn or anything like that. It's just the pace situation is really scary to me. I've got him in second because I think he's got a lot of talent. His last race was very nice, but I couldn't quite put him on top. I just don't know what the trip is going to be for him. He's another one that maybe he can sit off, but we just haven't seen that from him. So where does he fall once they get out of the gate? To me, you're drawn all the way here towards that outside. You're going to have to send a bit. And then what's that going to mean for him? I'm worried about his trip, but he does have talent.
I could see, the 3 and the 5 kind of getting out of the gate, going out there. Obviously, being that 1-turn mile does make it interesting. And then you have all these horses to the outside. It's like Slip Mahoney, even Lugan Knight, maybe. But certainly Eyeing Clover and Recruiter on the outside that are all the way outside that are just going to have to make a sustained run until they can get closer to the front. They're either going to be a mile wide or they're going to have to get out in front so they can kind of get position. It makes their job a lot tougher. You do have that long stretch to kind of get in position, but all the way on the outside, you're going to have to ask the horse somewhat to get that position that you want to be in when you hit that turn.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's what makes it weird. It's really a jockey's race, isn't it? In a lot of ways. And
it definitely feels like even though again, maybe the best, these aren't the best of horses. It definitely feels like the best of these horses very easily could not win the race.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, you say it's a jockey's race and they got to make a split decision and may not be the right one, but it's not really being critical of them. Sometimes it's like, God, I felt like we needed to get to the front and then he broke so sharp or all this and that. And then we just blazed, There's horses everywhere around us. So it's a jockey's race. And you look at the time form numbers that I look at. And again, numbers are what they are. They're not the end all be all, but boy, do a lot of these look a lot alike. I mean, a lot alike. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see how this shakes up. And one of the more fascinating pace situations that I've seen while handicapping in the last 10 years. I just don't see a race like this very often where literally everybody wants the lead.
In a race like this, are you, to kind of Nick's point, he made a joke like, if it's a jockey's race, he's screwed because he's got Talamo. But it was on the 7 Transit. But like in these kind of races, that do you want the local, like, I get we don't have an IRAD, we don't have a Pratt, we don't have whoever, like, but like, would you rather prefer a horse being a local jockey that maybe isn't overly like, not like a world beater type, but he knows the track on one of these horses, or would you rather have like, like your B level coming in, the Talamos or some of these horses, Liscano, not Liscano, but Drew coming in? Would you rather have that?
Trying to answer this without being rude.
That's why I asked you. I want you to
I'll take the local Aqueduct riders in this specific situation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think in this kind of race, that's why this race is so tough. Is it's like it's a lot like a allowance or even a main special weight or something, where it's like all these horses are claiming, even where like they're all very similar. It seems like, and they have a lot of similar speed and pace scenarios where it's not necessarily the best horse that you can depend on. It's who's going to get the best trip.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I think in a race like this, experience will matter a bit as well. I mean, I those horses just have 1 and 2 starts. That's a little dicey for me as well. It's a whole new ball game. You're in a whole different world when they break, and there's that many, and everybody's flying, and you're at a new track. Some of them are at a new track. It's going to be different.
How deep are you going in this race?
That's a decision for tomorrow morning. I haven't narrowed it down yet, or tonight at some point.
It depends on how what you do, and I guess in the Tom Fool before this. So
yeah, you're gonna have to go pretty deep, but you're probably. I mean, the Tom Fool is really kind of a tough one too. I'm having a hard time finding the race to go short in this late one. So
it's a tough sequence.
It seems like one of the tougher sequences I handicapped out of the big tracks this weekend.
So I feel like if they would have put the Busher, you could have made it maybe a little more confident on maybe a single there.
And they did that for the reason of, hey, we don't want you to have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the early one, it feels like you can go pretty short in, but yeah, this late one, it's gonna be interesting. Gonna have to just make some hard decisions and hope your handicapping is really, really sharp. I talk about that a lot on the Rocket Show. Sometimes you handicap it great and your structure decisions are bad, and sometimes and you miss it, and sometimes your handicapping isn't really great, but your structuring was perfect and you'll hit it. So that's kind of the thing. Sometimes my best handicap sequences I miss because I didn't make the right decisions with the structures. So that's definitely going to be this. Hopefully the structure is really, really good in this spot.
Hey, just don't leave Carmel Road off, okay? That's all I'm going to tell you.
I know I'm not going to leave Carmel Road off.
No warning. We'll on the Rockets. I guarantee we will be using Carmel Road.
Well, we have to. He's your top pick, so Carmel Road will be on the Rockets. Yeah.
All right. I got number 5, Carmel Road. Halterman is going towards the outside. Number 11, Slip Mahoney.
Man, speaking of picks,
I'm almost done, Cooper.
If you're playing our free win picks even if you didn't buy anything today, you come to the site and you're playing the free win picks at Gulfstream, we're having a very good day. Best bet one, the best value one. It's a very good day at Gulfstream.
Today?
Yeah, we've hit 5 out of 7. Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Bad Ortiz over here.
$20 winner in the 6th. It's been good.
Cooper asked me earlier if you were my best friend. I said he's not my best friend, but I'm his best friend.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how it is with a lot of people, I think.
He thinks we are, but
right.
Why do you have underwear out? Oh, that's weird. Okay. Anyways, all right, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and, of course, our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. Remember to go get that inside track to the 2023 Fountain of Youth Wagering Guide, now available. 20 pages, covers everything we just talked about, all the Derby preps, but as well as the whole card at Gulfstream Park. 11 stakes races in total. You get consensus picks from myself, Halterman, Magic, Samich, Papa Doo, Dr. Miranda, Vinny. Am I leave off anybody?
I don't think so.
And obviously, we do a consensus as well to kind of give you an idea. If you're having trouble, there's 2 horses. Won't tell you who. 2 horses out of 11 stakes that we had a clear consensus. Are these yours? Did you leave these over at my house?
Oh yes, those are. Will you please send those back to me?
I'll mail them to you.
Thank you.
Oh, they're Cohen. Sorry.
Oh.
But yeah, two races, only out of the 11 that we all agreed on the same horse. So it's that kind of day. Challenging as heck, but man, you're gonna get rewarded if you're right.
Yeah, it's a great day of racing, and this is the first card of the year where there's some big time horses running on the stakes undercards as well. So we got a loaded group. It's time for us to go.
Hey, stop. Yeah, he did good for the most part, but we've lost control. Remember, we're on Twitter at @racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all the places you listen to, as well as our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, search Racing Dudes or youtube.com/Racing Dudes and find more videos. We're doing a live show, but what time is the live show?
I know the live show will be around the 3 Kentucky Derby preps. I would say we'll come on a little bit before that, though. A time has not been locked down, but certainly probably 3:30 to 5 Central. If I had a guess, it would be 3:30 to 5. I would say.
Well, I mean, like I said, all those are going to fall in like an hour.
Yeah.
So we're going to be all over. Oh, by the way, Trish wants to know. Hey, Boxer Boys, look. Hey, they want to know who your Kentucky Derby horse is so far. Who do you like? Justify.
Yeah. Good guess.
So just if he basically any baby that or any babies of Justify, he's about. So, I don't know. How about Forte? Do you like Forte? Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't know.
Make sure you guys stay here in the next couple hours for the Magic Mike Show. They're doing the Gulfstream Park Saturday late pick 5. So, of course, more analysis of that pick 5 sequence. Just stay tuned. Justify. Gosh, don't you wish we, and not to get into it. Yeah. As we're ending here, but like Extra Neho for sure. Loggins, you could even make a case for. Cave Rock, these horses, man. If Extra Neho, this might be we all thought, John was nuts for predicting the Triple Crown. It's insanity. I'm not saying he would have won the Triple Crown, but we're still looking for that horse, right? And it seems like the kind of year where an Extra Neho, if he was as good as he looked on debut, if Loggins was as good, it would be just right for them to take.
Yeah. Some of them, are out there that are going to be like, wow, this summer's going to be better than the Triple Crown. In some ways, it does kind of look like that, unfortunately. Now, listen, we got 2 weeks. 2 weeks to turn it all around, Jared. So we'll see. But yeah, some of our better ones are not running. Let's put it that way.
I'll stop being negative, Nelly, and I'll say this: we could in 2 weeks' time, 2.5 weeks after next weekend. I mean, there's a very real scenario where Forte is a beast. Hijazi's the real deal, or one of those horses in national, whoever it is, someone out of that race. Tappa Trice looked amazing. Pletcher's got the 2 biggest threats of the dirt. I mean, we could in 10 days' time, we could be singing a little bit different tune.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that one at all.
Or
not at all.
Or we could be trying to prop up Extra Neho and get him to the track. So one of the two.
See, and these are other ones like Bishop's Bay is a horse. I've heard through the grapevine that's the horse that Cox likes the best of his 3-year-olds is Bishop's Bay. He has 1 start. Falston, I don't know what the hell, what's going on with him, but
I know, I'm sure you've heard all about this. We know the same people, but they like Bishop's Bay a lot.
That's what I just said. That Cox thinks he's his best horse. We've talked about 30 million Cox horses, and he says Bishop's Bay is his best horse. So
yeah, it's nuts how much I keep hearing about. I'll be like, who do you like? And they'll be like Bishop's Bay. I'm like, no, not him, because I know that he's not running these races. But
right.
But yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Who would you pick? Who's the 3-year-old?
No idea.
I would just because it's an easy answer. It'd be Extra Neho. But that's a dicey comment. I think his talent level we saw that day was elite, but we just don't know what he's going to do. We know that Life is Good came back fine from that injury, so I would assume that he's going to have a big year after he comes back. But who knows if he's coming back?
Yeah, he's not working until we see it work. It's hard for me to get excited. That's the thing. No idea.
I think
not a clue.
Assuming he works in the next couple days, next week, I'd say.
Yeah,
you got to think maybe Keeneland in a prep, not a prep. I mean, like a allowance.
Yeah,
and then you think maybe he goes straight to the Preakness from there, or maybe there's a race between, but. They're certainly not rushing for the Derby. I know that much. So why would you?
I don't think you're seeing him in a stakes unless it's a small one until the summer. Honestly, there's no reason to rush if you think he's really good. That's the thing.
I guess it really just depends on what they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we don't know. We're assuming it, but like if they think if he's fine, it's like, yeah, he could win, then they're probably gonna run him. But I don't know. Like I'm with you. You don't need to rush him at this point. Why would you?
And the other thing is to that question, it might be a very simple answer. Forte.
Yeah.
If we think all the horses aren't great and Forte comes back and he's solid, he's going to win 2 of the 3 Triple Crown races, probably. Well, that probably is going to be enough to win 3-year-old of the year, right? So it could just be he's the simple answer. And so we'll take that first step. Because here's the deal. He wasn't supposed to beat Cave Rock, and he beat him, and it wasn't even close. He beat him easy. Yeah. So he might just be better. Forget about Extra Neho and Loggins. He's already beaten Loggins, right? He beat him.
Easily.
Forget about all these other horses. Might. He just wins. And if he returns, and he looks like he looked last year, I'll take him.
Did Nyquist win 3-year-old of the year that year? I'm just looking at pulling the sheet. He fell off hard after the Preakness. Ran the Haskell, finished 4th. Ran the Pennsylvania Derby, finished 6th, and then he was done. So I don't know.
I can't remember who won it that year.
No, he didn't.
Who won it?
Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at his honors, and he got a 2-year.
Gotcha.
Let's see. What year would that be? 2016.
2016. I'm Googling it right now.
Would it have been who won the Haskell? Is that the year?
Extravagator or whatever. What's that?
Was it Exaggerator?
Exaggerator. That's what his name was. No. He won the Haskell, but he didn't win.
Arrogate.
Oh, was that Arrogate's year? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was the year
16?
he yeah.
Because it's the year after Pharaoh, right?
Yep, I forgot he was 2016.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, that horse. Yeah, he wouldn't have won any. But my point of Nyquist just kind of was like seemingly he fell off though. He tailed off.
Yeah.
But he also ran, the San Vicente, the Florida Derby prior to. You think are they going to run Forte again before the Derby?
Oh, if they don't, then I'm going to jump off a cliff. They have to run it again. Yes. Right, I'd say Bluegrass, honestly, or Florida Derby.
Yeah. He likes to bring those horses to Keeneland, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends. I mean, but it's also like if he romps in the Fountain Youth and it ain't broke,
Yeah. True as well.
Do it again. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you stay again for Magic Mike show later today, covering that late pick 5, and we will be live on Saturday. So make sure you look for that alert as well. Just another reason to subscribe to Racing Dudes YouTube channel so you get alerted when we go live for anything. And yeah, when is Dudes Bet Sports?
In 2 minutes, 2:30.
Wow, you get a lot of Halterman here, guys. So just stay tuned, Dennis. Go take a pee break. Real
2
quick.
minutes away. Yep.
You can pee in 2 minutes and then come back, and Halterman and his dad will be here. So perfect. Forte likes Keeneland. He does like Keeneland. Yep. Okay, yeah. Questions there for college. There you go. They'll talk all about it. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. He is Cooper Welch. And this blinker's off. Good luck this weekend, guys. Okay. Yeah.